Good morning. Happy Sunday, y'all. You know, sometimes when I'm all ready for devotions and I'm sitting here in my chair, all prepared, and I have my cup of coffee, my book, I feel like I'm the Masterpiece Theater host. Welcome to Joyful Daily Devotions with KJ and her big poofy hair. All right. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Good morning, Charlotte. It's cold up here in Maine on April 3rd. It's cold. I had to go grab my sweater. My arms were chilly. I'm like, this is getting insane. All right, April 3rd. Shechem's revolt against Abimelech. Judges 9:22 through 57. After Abimelech had ruled over Israel for 3 years, God sent a spirit that stirred up trouble between Abimelech and the leading citizens of Shechem, and they revolted. God was punishing Abimelech for murdering Gideon's 70 sons, and the citizens of Shechem for supporting him in his treachery of murdering his brothers. The citizens of Shechem set an ambush for Abimelech on the hilltops and robbed everyone who passed by that way. But someone warned Abimelech about their plot. One day, Gaal, son of Ebed, moved to Shechem with his brothers and gained the confidence of the leading citizens of Shechem. During the annual harvest festival at Shechem, held in the temple of the local god, the wine flowed freely, and everyone began cursing Abimelech. "Who is Abimelech?" Gaal shouted. "He's not the true son of Shechem, so why should we be his servants? He's merely the son of Gideon, and this Zebul is merely his deputy. Serve the true sons of Hamor, the founder of Shechem. Why should we serve Abimelech? If I were in charge here, I would get rid of Abimelech. I would say to him, 'Get some soldiers and come out and fight.'" But when Zebul, the leader of the city, heard what Gaal was saying, he was furious. He sent messengers to Abimelech in Arumah, telling him, "Gaal, son of Ebed, and his brothers have come to live in Shechem and are now inciting the city to rebel against you. Come by night with an army and hide out in the fields. In the morning, as soon as it is daylight, attack the city. When Gaal and those who are with him come out against you, you can do with them as you wish." So Abimelech and all of his men went by night and split into 4 groups, stationing themselves around Shechem. Gaal was standing at the city gates when Abimelech and his army came out of hiding. When Gaal saw them, he said to Zebul, "Look, there are the people coming down from the hilltops." Zebul replied, "It's just the shadows on the hill that look like men." But again Gaal said, "No, people are coming down from the hills, and another group is coming down the road past Diviner's Oak." Then Zebul turned on him and asked, "Now where is that big mouth of yours? Wasn't it you that said, 'Who is Abimelech and why should we be his servants?' The men you mocked are right outside the city. Go and fight them." So Gaal led the leading citizens of Shechem into battle against Abimelech. But Abimelech chased him, and many of Shechem's men were wounded and fell along the road as they retreated to the city gate. Abimelech returned to Arumah, and Zebul drove Gaal and his brothers out of Shechem. The next day, the people of Shechem went out into the fields to battle. When Abimelech heard about it, he divided his men into 3 groups and set an ambush in the fields. When Abimelech saw the people coming out of the city, he and his men jumped up from their hiding places and attacked them. Abimelech and his group stormed the city gate to keep the men of Shechem from getting back in, while Abimelech's other 2 groups cut them down in the fields. The battle went on all day before Abimelech finally captured the city. He killed the people, leveled the city, and scattered salt all over the ground. When the leading citizens who lived in the Tower of Shechem heard what had happened, they ran and hid in the temple of Baal-berith. Someone reported to Abimelech that the citizens had gathered in the temple, so he led his forces to Mount Zalmon. He took an axe and chopped some branches from a tree. Then he put them on his shoulders. "Quick, do as I have done," he told his men. So each of them cut down some branches, following Abimelech's example. They piled the branches against the wall of the temple and set them on fire. So all the people who had lived in the town of Shechem died, about 1,000 men and women. Then Abimelech attacked the towns of Thebez and captured it. But there was a strong tower inside the town, and all the men and women, the entire population, fled to it. They barricaded themselves in and climbed up to the roof of the tower. Abimelech followed them to attack the tower. But as he prepared to set fire to the entrance, a woman on the roof dropped a millstone that landed on Abimelech's head and crushed his skull. He quickly said to his armor-bearer, "Draw your sword and kill me. Don't let it be said that a woman killed Abimelech." So the young man ran through him with his sword, and he died. When Abimelech's men saw that he was dead, they disbanded and returned to their homes. In this way, God punished Abimelech for the evil he had done against his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God also punished the men of Shechem for all of their evil. So the curse of Jotham and the son of Gideon was fulfilled. I'm petting the dog, and if I stop for just a second, he rams his head into my arm. He won't let me stop. Tola becomes Israel's judge. Judges 10:1-2. After Abimelech died, Tola, son of Puah, son of Dodo, was the next person to rescue Israel. He was from the tribe of Issachar, but lived in the town of Shamir in the hill country of Ephraim. He judged Israel for 23 years. When he died, he was buried in Shamir. Jair becomes Israel's judge. Judges 10:3-5. After Tola died, Jair from Gilead judged Israel for 22 years. His 30 sons rode around on 30 donkeys, and they owned 30 towns in the land of Gilead, which are still called the towns of Jair. When Jair died, he was buried in Ammon. The Ammonites oppress Israel. Judges 10:6-18. Again, the Israelites did evil in the Lord's sight. They served the images of Baal and Ashtoreth and the gods of Aram, Sidon, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia. They abandoned the Lord and no longer served him at all. So the Lord burned with anger against Israel, and he turned them over to the Philistines and the Ammonites, who began to oppress them that year. For 18 years they oppressed all the Israelites east of the Jordan River, in the land of the Amorites, that is, in Gilead. The Ammonites also crossed on the west side of the Jordan and attacked Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. The Israelites were in great distress. Finally, they cried out to the Lord for help, saying, "We have sinned against you, because we have abandoned you and our God, and we have served the images of Baal." The Lord replied, "Did I not rescue you from the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Maonites? When they oppressed you, you cried out to me for help, and I rescued you. Yet you have abandoned me and served other gods. So I will not rescue you any more. Go and cry out to the gods you have chosen. Let them rescue you in your hour of distress." But the Israelites pleaded with the Lord and said, "We have sinned. Punish us as you see fit. Only rescue us today from our enemies." Then the Israelites put aside their foreign gods and served the Lord, and he was grieved by their misery. At that time, the armies of Ammon had gathered for war and were camped in Gilead, and the people of Israel assembled and camped at Mizpah. The leaders of Gilead said to each other, "Whoever attacks the Ammonites first will become ruler over all the people of Gilead." Jephthah becomes Israel's judge. Judges 11:1-28. Now Jephthah of Gilead was a great warrior. He was the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also had several sons, and when these half-brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah off the land. "You will not get any of our father's inheritance," they said, "for you are the son of a prostitute." So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had a band of worthless rebels following him. At about this time, the Ammonites began their war against Israel. The Ammonites attacked the elders of Gilead. I missed a word. When the Ammonites attacked, the elders of Gilead sent for Jephthah in the land of Tob. The elders said, "Come and be our commander. Help us fight the Ammonites." But Jephthah said to them, "Aren't you the ones who hated me and drove me from my father's house?" Sebastian, stop. That bowl is clean. Go lay down. Stop. You're distracting me. Come on. Go lay down. Sorry. But Jephthah said to them, "Aren't you the ones who hated me and drove from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble?" "Because we need you," the elders replied. "If you lead us in battle against the Ammonites, we will make you ruler over all the people of Gilead." Jephthah said to the elders, "Let me get this straight. If I come with you, and if the Lord gives me victory over the Ammonites, will you really make me ruler over all the people?" "The Lord is our witness," the elders replied. "We promise to do whatever you say." So Jephthah went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him their ruler and the commander of the army. At Mizpah, in the presence of the Lord, Jephthah repeated what he had said to the elders. Then Jephthah sent messengers to the king of Ammon, asking, "Why have you come out to fight against my land?" The king of Ammon answered Jephthah's messengers, "When the Israelites came out of Egypt, they stole my land, from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River, and all the way to the Jordan. Now then, give back the land peaceably." Jephthah sent this message back to the Ammonite king. This is what Jephthah says: "Israel did not steal any land from Moab or Ammon. When the people of Israel arrived at Kadesh on their journey from Egypt after crossing the Red Sea, they sent messengers to the king of Edom, asking permission to pass through his land, but their request was denied. Then they asked the king of Moab for similar permission, but he wouldn't let them pass through either, so the people of Israel stayed in Kadesh. Finally, they went around Edom and Moab through the wilderness. They traveled along Moab's eastern border and camped on the other side of the Arnon River. But they never once crossed the Arnon River into Moab, for the Arnon was the border of Moab. Then Israel sent messengers to King Sihon of the Amorites, who ruled from Heshbon, asking for permission to cross through his land to get to their destination. But King Sihon didn't trust Israel to pass through his land. Instead, he mobilized his army at Jahaz and attacked them. But the Lord, the God of Israel, gave his people victory over King Sihon. So Israel took control of all the land of the Amorites who lived in that region, from the Arnon River to the Jabbok River, from the eastern wilderness to the Jordan. So you see, it was the Lord, the God of Israel, who took away the land from the Amorites and gave it to Israel. Why, then, should we give it back to you? You keep whatever your god Chemosh gives you, and we will keep whatever the Lord our God gives us. Are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he try to make a case against Israel for disputed land? Did he go to war against them? Israel has been living here for 300 years, inhabiting Heshbon and its surrounding settlements, all the way to Arior and its settlements, and in all the towns along the Arnon River. Why have you made no effort to recover it before now? Therefore I have not sinned against you, rather you have wronged me by attacking me. Let the Lord, who is judge, decide today which of us is right, Israel or Ammon." But the king of Ammon paid no attention to Jephthah's message. Okay. Oh, man. I got a spammer. Sorry. Okay. All right, let's do Trim Healthy Mama, 100 Days of Inspiration, day 93. Well, I can't tell if it's a spammer. Usually I can. I can't tell. Hold on. Hold, please. I cannot tell. Okay. I can't tell. All right, let's do Trim Healthy Devotions, 100 Days of Inspiration. We are on day, did I already hit the caption? I did not. What day are we on? Day 93. Okay. Stir up the pot. When we find someone believing a lie, what's our reaction? When someone is going astray, what do? Most times, we prefer to say or do nothing. We don't like to interfere. We don't want to be thought of someone who is condemning or illegal. So we keep quiet, or legal. Sorry, I can't read. So we keep quiet. But is that what God wants us to do? Proverbs 28:4 says, "They that forsake the law praise the wicked, but such as keep the law contend with them." The Hebrew word for contend is gera and means to meddle, to stir up, in other words, to stir up the pot. Is it loving to leave someone in deception? Is it loving not to seek to rescue someone who is going in the wrong direction? Read Jude 23. How can we change society if we stay silent? God wants us to invade society with His truth. He wants His people to show the way. He wants us to shine His light in the darkness, not hide our light. Matthew 5:13-16. This doesn't mean we will be condemning in our response. A great way to challenge people's thinking is to ask them questions. Ask them why they think the way they do. Ask them about their worldview. Christian and non-Christians are constantly bombarded with secular and humanistic worldviews. We have to redirect their thinking back to God's way. Don't hide your light, and don't forget to smile at people when you confront them. The bull's eye, Hebrews 11:6, says, "But without faith it is impossible to please Him." These words hit a bullseye through my heart. Without faith, it's impossible. Impossible? That's a very strong word, especially when Luke 1:37 says nothing is impossible for God. God can't pour His powerful possibility into a vessel that isn't lined with faith. All that power just leaks out. With God, it is all can do, yet we resist with our impossible can'ts. The cup that harnesses the Almighty God's strength and power is formed by the substance of faith. What are we left with when faith is gone? Fear. This is the antithesis of faith. This four-letter word is the one thing that makes the God who can do the impossible rendered helpless in His ability to rescue us. I must believe not only in His salvation for me, but also in His unfailing goodness, divine sovereignty, and all-knowingness. I must trust in His pruning and not resist the master gardener while He plows through the rows of my life so it can bear fruit. With childlike faith, I must lay still on the potter's wheel while He firmly presses my hardened edges to clay and by friction molds me into His desired vessel. I must allow Him to pour into my cup whatever drink He would have me sup, saying, "Not my will, but Thine be done." A fearless life is one that pleases Him. Living in the light. One of my favorite parts about flying on a plane is meeting new people, complete strangers. Instead of passing them in the grocery store, you have no choice but to sit next to them for hours at a time. I've often prayed that God will give me the opportunity to witness to people. Those opportunities are scarce when you are surrounded by godly friends and family. But when I travel, God throws these opportunities at me. He doesn't just show me the people to witness to, He tells me what to do by giving me a little feeling deep inside. I talked about God to the lady sitting next to me as casually as the flight attendants were talking about the Super Bowl. I knew that she wasn't a Christian, yet she believed in God. Somehow, I knew that I had to be patient with her and encourage her with love and kindness. While inside, I wanted to tell her what she was missing out on. Instinctively, I also knew I needed to pray for her and to tell her that I would. When you see someone who's lost in the dark, you're suddenly aware that you have been found in the light. The realization hits you more than ever. You feel gratitude that you're no longer living in the shadows, and you trust that you are strong enough to pull the other person out of the shadows and into the sun. Okay. That's it. That was a good one. Thanks for joining me this morning. Somebody used the comparison the other day of our Trim Healthy Mama journeys to that of the Israelites, and how many of us for years have been Israelites in the wilderness wandering, and after we make it to the promised land and we find what really is good for our health, we turn away, and then we come back, and then we turn away, and then we come back, and then we turn away, and we're not consistent. And we look at the Israelites and say, how can they disobey the God that does all of that for them, and yet they turn around and they serve other gods, and they disobey Him, and then they come back and they find Him again and they follow Him, and then they disobey and then they follow Him. It's very much like our Trim Healthy journey, isn't it? Obviously the comparison is much smaller, but our journey is no different, where we eat the off-plan foods, then we come back and we eat healthy, and then we eat the off-plan foods, and then we come back and we eat healthy, and we eat the off-plan foods. And every time we're in the season of eating the off-plan foods and eating the unhealthy foods and treating our body with the things that it shouldn't be treated with, we're not in a good place. Things aren't going our way. So I really like that comparison. I thought it was really, it was pretty powerful. So, okay, you guys, I love you all. Have a blessed day. No breakfast this morning. It's Sunday. Well, there's breakfast. You're just not going to see it. I'm going to have a quinoa bowl this morning, some sweatpants quinoa with some brown swerve and some Coach Canada's peanut butter and some blueberries. So I hope you all have a blessed day. I will see you back tomorrow morning. Stay on plan today. All right. I love you all. Bye.